we're going to be doing a movement practice, what I call the therapeutic tremor. I want to provide a little bit of framing around this. And really to be able to think about this as sharing power with our bodies. Power over is a very colonial concept, right? It's a domination, a control, and it's really a legacy of trauma. A big part of trauma is feeling out of control. So all of the ways we try to take control, right? Either acting on or in to control the body. And so it's not just an individual trying to control body movement. We have a cultural attitude of controlling and dominating the body, mind over body. And so power with is a relational construct. It's how can we be in right relationship with our bodies? So thinking about this, I developed tremoring exists, and we're going to talk about it for a second, in many different contexts, both in nature and in therapeutic processes. And I have my own little spin on it. That's part of the Resilience Toolkit that I'd like to share with you. And we're using it in the context of building capacity and resourcing in preparation for trauma healing and getting free. So I only have 30 minutes, and this could be a very long session. So I'm just going to distill the most salient points. There are tremors that exist in our body that are pathological. Parkinson's tremors, seizures, right? Alcohol poisoning or withdrawals. There's a lot of kinds of tremors that are pathological. And there is, with this colonial construct of trying to control the body and the existence of pathological tremors or involuntary movement or vibration, there's a lot of cultural attitude in the West about tremor, involuntary movement. But there are also life-giving tremors. When you're very, very cold, your body begins to shake. It's a thermogenic tremor. And if you're very, very cold, that tremor can save your life from hypothermia. Okay. There is also, if you're working out, right, and you're really using a muscle quite a bit, and that muscle, right, that little sensor in the tendon begins to feel how much exertion is happening there and says, oh, danger, this is not good for the muscle and tendon complex, so I'm going to start a vibration or a tremor, an exercise-induced tremor to prevent damage to the tendon and muscle. That is also life-giving. And many of us have experienced both thermogenic, being cold, or an exercise-induced tremor. When we talk about a therapeutic tremor, this is the tremor that happens. I think many of people are familiar with this idea of after a very stressful event or a traumatic event, that the body will begin to vibrate to reset the stress cycle. And I use very carefully the word reset. There is often an idea that it is a release. I am very wary of this idea. Think back, if you heard my remarks yesterday, about the desire for catharsis, the desire to get it out. If we have this conception, we will think of this tremor as I am releasing something. Yeah, which is a very dangerous, can be a very dangerous conception, because I have this quantity inside of me. What was I say? 80 pounds? You have 80 pounds of trauma and you're going to tremor it out, 80 pounds? Can you tolerate all of that coming so fast and furious all at once? What do you think, y'all? I don't know. Even if you're resourced, that's a lot. That's a big tsunami that you're asking for. You're melting an iceberg, and then you're surprised that there's a huge flood. I prefer the conception of a reset. It is a reset, okay? We are not going to excavate, because remember, in the first stage of trauma healing, there's a lot of turbulence, there's a lot of chaos, and there's the desire, I want this to get out. But what happens when you swim deeper? Y'all, you drown. We need to get to shore. So we actually need gentle reset. And you'll see how we use the tremor in the Resilience Toolkit is in this idea of reset, not release. And so following that idea, I'm just going to give you some basic little tips here, and then we're going to do some practice. The higher the stress or trauma activation, the shorter the practice. I'm going to say it again. The higher the activation, the higher the response, the shorter the practice. And I see people kind of looking at me very quizzically. The higher you're stressed, the more, right? Okay, so I'm about to explain it. Thank you. And I'll take questions afterwards. So if people could just hold their comments. Thank you. Why? If you think about it as a quantity, I'm drowning, I want to get it out, you think I need to do more. Do you see how this idea starts to track? We know when people are frozen because they're carrying a lot, even if there's a lot of crisis going on, there's a lot of numbness simultaneously. When you come out of numbness, you come into feeling. So if you thought it was in crisis before, get ready. Does this make sense? Okay. So higher the activation, shorter the practice. It's very, again, this is taking us out of this idea because most people are like, oh, well, I don't do catharsis. Do you see how we still have these ideas of catharsis are still in there and we have to unroot them? It's very important to be able to cue in and have some understanding of your own. So you see many of the prompts that I've invited you to reflect is, how do I know when I'm getting stressed? How do I know when I'm starting to settle? Because if you start to feel yourself activate, you need to stop. Okay, so this is, we're putting the tremor within this context. It's very important that you know how to activate it and how to turn it off. And so we're going to do that. I'm going to teach you how to turn it on and how to turn it off. This is really about making friends with this capacity, because while this exists in all mammals, I often think it's ridiculous that it's just absolutely ridiculous that I'm teaching folks how to tremor. It's like, imagine if you lived in a culture that said sneezing was bad and wrong. Okay. And suddenly someone does some research and says, you know what, sneezing is actually really good. And then you had to go to a sneezing class. It's ridiculous, right? But we are so detached from our body. I worked as a midwife for many years. Mammals are designed to breast chest feed, right? But why do we have lactation consultants? Can you imagine a dog or a horse or a pig going to a lactation consultant? This is how disconnected we are from our bodies. But because of that, we actually do need support, and we do need to relearn or remember how our bodies work. But we are carrying our cultural push hard, push hard. This is not a place to push hard. We are making friends with this capacity that exists in all mammals. It is always an invitational process, meaning we're going to invite in. This is never a have to or a should. Okay. And really, the goal here is centering comfort, centering ease. This is not about pushing through. Remember, we are in the first, we're using this as a first stage tool for stabilization and resourcing, calming the turbulence, not stirring up more. All right. And notice, I think so often when I invite folks into this practice, they get so excited. They're like, oh, I want to. Just notice where the drive's coming from, because I'm not saying it. I'm actually telling you we're going to do it really short. We're going to do it today, and we're going to do it again tomorrow. Okay, so this is a chance to just touch into it and then touch into it again tomorrow. All right. So I want to, I'm going to invite this in, I'm going to demonstrate, and I'm going to really ask that you watch me first. This is about a consent practice. Often when we do movement practices, we are taught or conditioned that you do it along with the instructor. Yeah? How do you know what you're about to do? Do you know if you even want to do it, if your body can do it? Right? I want you to watch it first, listen to me first, and then make the decision, oh yeah, I'd like to try that part. Okay, that's about a consent practice. It's also a lot easier to take it in, right, first before you actually start doing it. And we're gonna do, there's some really gentle warm-up movements that we do that help the body, help us come into contact with our body and help us settle a little bit before activating the tremor. Everything is invitational. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Yeah? Okay. So before we start, just do a quick self-inventory. What's your stress level right now? Low, medium, high? Maybe it's, you want to give it a 1 to 10. How do you know? So here's those guiding questions. What's my state? How do I know? What's tense? What's relaxed? What's spacious? What's pressured? What's calm and loose? All right. So you got a mental note of that, a body note of that, and then let's see what happens, right? So I'm going to demonstrate this 2 ways. I'm going to demonstrate each movement seated, okay, and standing so that you can choose what feels best for you. This is a practice where I've done it with people who are amputees, people who are wheelchair users. We've had recently certified somebody who's a wheelchair user from birth who's able to do this. So we really love that all the different ways this can be done. Okay. So the first movement, and the warm-up movements are very simple, and they come from dance movement therapy, neuro rehab, to activate various different pathways in our neurology that help us settle. But not everyone likes everything, or you might have an injury, okay? So everything's invitational. Nothing should be more uncomfortable than your baseline. Okay? So the first movement is just gentle ankle circles. So if you're seated and you choose to seat, just watching first, notice like, oh, I want to do it, right? It might be lifting my feet and doing circles, right? It might be just moving here very gently. If I choose to be standing, knees a little bit bent, right? We lock our knees as one of the ways we disconnect from our body. So knees a little soft and just shifting the weight around the edges of my feet. Right? Just shifting the weight around the edges of my feet. And then we'll reverse directions. All right, so take a pick. Do you want to do it seated? Do you want to do it standing? Let's do it together. Okay. So either way, what you're doing is we're activating the sensors, the proprioceptive sensors in our joints. And so really feeling into the muscles that might be moving, where they're getting tight, where they're relaxing, where your weight is shifting. I'm going to reverse direction for myself. Oh, I feel myself already almost a little yawn wanting to happen. Yeah. Okay. That's the first movement. Okay. The second movement, so watching first, if you can stay standing or seated, is an arm sweep. And so here, just watching me, I'm going to put one hand on the shoulder and sweep down my arm. And alternate hand on the other shoulder and sweep down here. This can be done with, you want to do it with me, a light touch, or it can be a firm touch or even a squeeze as you go down. Again, feeling the tactile sensations in your hands and in your arms. Noticing if your stress level is rising, you stop, not for you today. Or maybe you feel a little bit of settling. I suddenly am able to feel my back body. Okay. Each of these can be standalone practices in the Resilience Toolkit, not just for activating the tremor. Okay. Very simple. The next one, we're going to do the same thing. These are both cross the midline practices. We're going to cross one, again, watching first, one hand on the one hip, one hand at the front of the other hip. And this can be done, again, standing or seated, is I'm going to sweep my hands down the front of my legs and really watch your back. I'm not going to go down further than is going to, stress my back in any kind of way. Release and slowly roll up. And if I'm doing that in a seated, it's again, just a sweep. And it can be a light touch or a firm touch. Okay, so if you'd like to do that with, just really feeling the sensation on your palms, feeling the sensation on your thighs, maybe your knees, maybe your shins. Okay. The only way to do this practice wrong is to be uncomfortable and keep pushing, which means we all have different bodies and abilities, so this might look very different. Centering your comfort all along the way. Okay. And so in general, I encourage people, and I'll do this tomorrow, is as you're doing the practice, if it feels good, you might want to linger in a particular one. Or if one doesn't feel good, like, I don't like that one, you can skip it. Really, I'm teaching sort of the baseline, and people make this practice their own. The only way to do it wrong, I'm going to say it again, is to be uncomfortable and to continue to push yourself through. That's a lot of leeway, okay? And notice our perfectionism where we're like, am I doing it right? Okay, so the next one, we're going to activate some sensors in our ears that take notice of movement by doing a heel-toe rocking or a gentle swaying in your seat. So I'm going to demonstrate it first. My knees are softly bent, and I'm just going to shift my weight to my heels and then to my toes. And I could do a bigger move, just it could be small like this. Some people really like to get into it, right? It's whatever feels good to you. Okay. Really trying to stay stable, because if we feel unstable, that can also make us kind of clutch, right? And feel a little unsafe. So sometimes we might want to hold on to something, or it can be done just seated and you're still just rocking yourself forward and backwards. Forwards and backwards. So joining with whichever would you want. If you want to just do a small little shift or a bigger movement, either way, we're just going front and back, front and back. When you see kids in line and kids when they rock like this, some regulation, huh? All right. Okay, one more gentle warm-up movement. And this is one that gently opens the psoas muscle. So I'm sure that many of you are familiar with the psoas, which is definitely, it's involved in our self-protective mechanism, right? So of closing our top and lower body to protect our soft little innards. And it's also involved in twisting motions, okay? So watching me first, I'll demonstrate both standing and seated. So what I'm standing is with a little bit of a wide straddle, as if I'm a bit of a pyramid. And my knees are gently bent. And I'll walk you through this so you don't have to remember this. This is just the watching part and the listening part. So I got a little bend in my knees and I just tighten my butt and just kind of tuck my hips under like a dog that's tucking their tail. Yeah? Dog tucking their tail. And then I'm going to twist, leading with my hips. Twist. If it feels uncomfortable in your knees and your back, sometimes squeezing your butt a little bit helps. If it doesn't, still feels uncomfortable, not for you today. Okay. And then I let my arms kind of join in like little soft noodles. But it's really leading from the hips, and I feel a little bit of opening at the front of the hips. If you're seated, it's really an upper body twist, but you're still involving the psoas. Okay. Okay. All right. So either seated or standing. If you'd like to widen your straddle, soften your knees, look down. Are they actually a little bent? Squeeze your butt, tuck it under, and then start twisting the hips. And if you like, let the arms go with. And if you're seated, just a nice, gentle little twist. This is all invitational. And just kind of notice what's happening. Are you feeling more of your body? Are your arms loose? Is your breath deepening? All right, that's it. To activate the tremor, you can sit if you like, because I'm going to explain a bit for a moment. This can be done in many positions. I'm going to show the two most common positions, but this can be done again. If you have no legs, this can be done with the arms. It can be done, but I'm going to just with the time that I have, I'm only going to show the two most common positions. I'm going to show you how to activate and how to turn off the tremor. And then I will narrate the entire process through. Okay. So don't feel like, oh, am I going to remember all the steps? I will guide you through and we'll do this again tomorrow. So I'm going to show, first I'll do it laying down and can you get will the camera catch this so that you'd be able to see it on the screen? Again, you're centering your comfort. So I'm going to actually show the stop position first. Okay, so if I'm laying on my back, the way to turn the tremors off is to lengthen your legs. This is the off position. For some people, it turns it off immediately. For some people, it's like a dimmer switch, turning it down. Some people prefer to roll to their side, sit up. Some people even like to stand to turn it off. But for most people, it's just legs straight. Okay. How do you turn it on? My soles of my feet are touching and my knees are open in a diamond position. If this feels too much stretch for your hips, if you happen to have something, you can put like pillows or blankets here. Obviously, we don't have that here. You can take your fists and put them on either side just to support so it's not so much of a stretch. Should be comfortable. From this position, we just are going to squeeze our butts. Some people do like to lift up, but you don't have to. Either lifting or just squeezing in place. We're not trying, this isn't CrossFit, we're not trying to build muscle. You're just going to do that until you feel the slightest bit of fatigue and then relax. You only squeeze or lift once. Then there's a period of closing your knees in little increments like you're trying to close a book. So I'll close just a little bit, very little bit. Most people often will go too quickly, just a little bit, an inch or two, and hold. And when I start to feel a little fatigue in the inner thigh, I close again, a little bit. And when I feel fatigue, just a little fatigue in the inner thigh, I close again. At some point in this closing cycle, often a tremor will start. Okay. It is involuntary. Okay. And it may start anywhere in the body, not just in this area, because it originates in the brain and the spinal cord. When it starts, we want to minimize the effort. So you'll see me flip the soles of my feet flat in place. They're still touching, but they're flat on the ground. And in this way, I can just let the tremor move through my body. Right? I can feel it starting to go up to my shoulders. Okay, this is how my tremor looks today. It will look different tomorrow. It can be very, very small and imperceptible, just feeling a hum or a buzz or a tingle inside, or it might be visible like this. When it's time to stop it, okay. I'm going to demonstrate it seated. Okay. It's essentially the same thing. This is how you might do it sitting up in bed, sitting on the couch with your feet on the coffee table. Don't tell your mom. Same, okay? So it's literally the same process. The only difference is I obviously can't lift my pelvis up if I choose to do it, but I'm doing the same thing. I am squeezing, releasing once, doing the slow increments of closing. When the tremor turns on, I put my feet soles flat on the chair, and to turn it off, I straighten. Okay, so the question I want to ask, how long are we doing this? You stop if you feel uncomfortable or a rise in stress. As with anything in the toolkit, if you feel uncomfortable, we stop. Okay? If you feel yourself start to relax and settle, you yawn, you feel your muscles relax, you also stop, because guess what? It worked. That was the reset. Notice if you're like, I want more, I want more, I want more. That's not what we're about, just the reset. Okay? The third reason to stop is a time limit. And we have a time limit because this brings folks, it's such a quick and effective reset, okay, that we don't want to move into excavation. We're not about tsunamis here. We're about calming, settling, and getting to shore. So if you noticed when you did the first practice, wow, I'm pretty stressed. In fact, I'm feeling like kind of turbulent inside. It's been a lot's been stirred up being here. 30 seconds, y'all. It is so short. You think that's it? Yeah, that's it, 30 seconds. We're just touching in. If you're like, I'm actually pretty calm, and not numb calm, like pretty calm, a minute to 2 minutes. We don't do over 2-minute cycles. The brain habituates at that point, and there's no further benefit, and in fact, risk of excavation. Okay? So 30 seconds if you're really on the top of like activation, a minute to 2 minutes tops. Okay? All right, so I'm going to guide you all through, and then we will do a little reflection. So either if you're in a chair, get a chair, either take the chair in front of you and flip it, or do the chair next to you so that your feet are on the same level as your bum. There's space here. Honestly, if somebody feels comfortable, you can jump up here on the stage. There's a yoga mat here. There's lots of space here. Feel free and take advantage. Yes, because I'm sorry we don't have a lot of space. Okay. And it's invitational. If you're like, I don't think this is my jam right now, good for you for doing what feels most comfortable for you. Okay. So wherever you are, I'd like you to try. And if you choose not to do it, what I would ask is if you could refrain from private conversations. so that the people who do choose to do it can hear. Thank you so much. So I'd like everybody to check the stop position. Do you have enough space to lengthen your legs? Check that you don't kick someone in the head. Do you have enough space to lengthen your legs? That the chair in front of you has enough space. This is the stop position. When do we use it? If you feel uncomfortable, rising stress, if it works and you feel calmer, or you've reached the time limit, 30 seconds to 2 minutes tops. All right? So I'm going to invite you now. We're going to do the diamond position. Soles of the feet touching, knees open in the diamond position. If it feels too much stretch in your hips, take your fists and put them on either side to kind of support at the outside. Okay. And imagine if you were at home, you could use pillows, blankets for comfort. And just right here, you're going to squeeze your bum. And if you like, you can lift it in the air, but it's not required. Really, this is about minimal effort. You're just going to hold that squeeze or that lift until you feel a little fatigue. Remember, not CrossFit. Okay. You might already start to feel a hum or a buzz or some vibration. When you start to feel a little bit of fatigue, you release the squeeze or drop your bum. Soft, relaxed, ease. Let the floor hold you up. Okay. So from this soft and easy position, soles of the feet touching, you're going to close the gap between your knees like you're just starting to close a book 2 inches and hold it there. Okay. Tuning into your body, noticing your own comfort level. You might start to feel a hum, a buzz, a tingle, some vibration. If you start to feel a little fatigue there, you close the gap between your knees a little bit more. Yeah. I see some folks are starting to have a little vibration, and some people might be feeling vibration that can't be seen, but it's just as valuable. If you notice that there's a pretty regular vibration, you turn the soles of your feet in place flat on either the chair or the ground. If you don't quite feel it yet, you're going to continue the pattern of closing the knees just slightly, bit by bit. Your bum is relaxed and easy. You're centering comfort. If at any moment you feel more stress, more activation, you know the stop position. Lengthen the legs. We are making friends with our body. Okay. The size of the tremor has no bearing on its effectiveness. Sometimes a little one is really powerful and a big one is. Notice any impulse in you to push harder, to get it out. And how can we work against that and just be with? Again, if you feel any discomfort, lengthen the legs. If you feel yourself start to settle, also lengthen the legs. If you're been highly stressed, 30 seconds is enough. When you do lengthen your legs, notice what shifts and changes inside. Is there more spaciousness? Is your breath deeper and easier? Was there a bit of a reset? Are you closer to shore? Oh, it got very quiet in here. If you're not already stopped, I'm going to invite you to lengthen your legs and come to a stop so you can feel the shift. And taking another inventory of how your stress feels right now. What is your state? Is it similar to when we started, or has there been a shift? And for folks who didn't do the practice, I still invite a self inventory. What is your state? How do you know? Yeah. Okay. Some things to reflect on in the transition. When I talked about the colonial construct, the trauma construct of control over our bodies, notice for many of us, we might have discomfort with involuntary movement because it feels out of control. And that can come from our own histories of trauma and needs to be in control, but it can also come from our cultural conditioning. It takes time to decolonialize our bodies. All right, y'all. Thank you so much.